Season 1, Episode 8, The Lawyer Who Learned a New Kind of Justice. In this story, we meet Arthur, a corporate lawyer who built a career on irrefutable facts and winning arguments, only to find himself confronted with a case he couldn't win. The call, not with a gavel's bang, but a quiet, final sentence. For 40 years, Arthur's world was in a courtroom. His domain was a universe of legal precedents, airtight logic, and meticulous evidence. He spoke a language of statutes and briefs, a man who believed that every problem had a solution and every battle could be won with the right strategy. He was an advocate, a man whose identity was wrapped in his own ability to control outcomes and protect his clients. He knew how to build an impenetrable defense for any case. The diagnosis, prostate cancer, was a case that he could not appeal. The doctor's office was a plain, unadored room with no familiar smells of polished mahogany or old leather-bound books. The news was like a hung jury, an outcome he couldn't accept. He felt his carefully constructed identity as an invincible advocate, a man of certainty, began to dissolve. He could fight for others, but he didn't know how to fight for himself. He came home that day and felt like he was living in a world of legal gray areas. He watched his wife, a florist named Zone, humming to herself as she arranged her flowers, and the familiar rhythm felt like a cruel joke. She would ask, "What can I do for you, dear?" And he would just shake his head. He was a broken man. He didn't know how to fix himself. He had always known how to lead a team of lawyers, but now he felt completely lost. One day, Zone came into his study where he was just staring at a blank wall. She didn't push him to talk, but instead she quietly put a single beautiful orchid on his desk, and she sat down beside him and held his hand. She said, "Arthur, you always told me that a good lawyer knows when to fight and when to settle. Maybe it's time to settle, to find a new path, remember?" And her words were a mirror, showing him a reflection of the man that he used to be. That night, she helped him find a support group, a circle of men who met not in a sterile clinic, but in a small community center. He was skeptical, thinking it would be a place of blandness and despair. Instead, he found a different kind of court, one filled with a different kind of justice. They were men who had heard the same jarring news that he had. They spoke not of their illnesses, but of their lives, their kids, their passions, their fears. They shared their campfire cancer survivor stories. There was a retired landscaper there, a man in simple beauty, and he spoke how he had learned to appreciate the unquantifiable things of life, love, friendship, and laughter. He said that his prostate attitude wasn't being an invincible advocate, but it was about finding the courage to listen to the other voices and find the strength in their shared experience. And as Arthur listened to these men, he found that the truth began to emerge. His life wasn't just a one case or a case that was meant to be won. It was a journey, and a journey he realized is best taken with others. He understood that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness, but it was the first step in a new composition. He went home that night, and he finally talked to his wife. He spoke of the fear of losing his identity, of not being able to find the joy in his work anymore, and he spoke of this felt profound sense of relief, of how long shuttered lenses that had been finally focused. He was still a lawyer, but he was no longer a lawyer alone. He still had a long road ahead, but as he stood in the living room with his wife, he knew his passion hadn't gone anywhere. He had found a new kind of community. He was ready to get back to work, and he was ready to fight for his own history.